Welcome to the Daily Tribal Sovereignty Report, your go-to source for Indigenous rights, land rights, and policy updates across Indian country and First Nations. If you want to stay informed, hit that like button, share this episode with your community, and subscribe now. You can find me wherever you get your podcasts, and with new episodes every Monday through Friday. Now let's get right to today's stories. We're going to go out to the Enbridge Line 5 pipeline, according to official reports from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Sault Ste. Marie tribe. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has approved a key federal permit for Enbridge's proposed Line 5 tunnel beneath the Straits of Mackinac. Tribe Chairman Austin Lowe's condemned the decision as a betrayal of the federal trust responsibility and a direct violation of treaty rights. And meanwhile, Enbridge continues to facilitate permitting following a Michigan Supreme Court ruling that vacated state-level approvals. Why it matters to tribes. Now, pipelines running through traditional territories without consent pose direct threats to sacred waters, cultural lands, and treaty-protected hunting and fishing rights. And why it matters to sovereignty. Water sovereignty demands and depends on tribes exercising real consultation and control over infrastructure projects that impact their natural resources. And according to recent legislative updates from the U.S. Senate, Congress has passed a continuing resolution to fund the federal government through December 11th, which includes a provision temporarily blocking the Office of Management and Budget from finalizing new federal grant rules. Opposition groups are advocating for stricter financial reporting on federal grants, but tribal advocates caution against overregulation. Why this matters to tribes. While proposed overhauls to OMB grant rules would create severe administrative burdens and strict new risk assessments on tribal governments. And why it matters to sovereignty. The financial self-determination requires flexible grant structures that respect tribal government autonomy rather than top-down federal control. And according to reporting from National Native News and KJZZ News, Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs and Hopi Tribe Chairman Lamar Kivama signed a 5-year memorandum of understanding to address coal plant closures and diversify the regional economy in northern Arizona. While fossil fuel advocates raised concerns over short-term job losses, the agreement shares economic data to pave the way for clean energy development. This impacts tribal self-determination by advancing energy and workforce sovereignty, allowing tribes to direct their own clean energy future. And according to reporting from the National Native News and KUNM, the Navajo Area Indian Health Service and the New Mexico Department of Health executed a formal memorandum of agreement to share real-time public health and disease surveillance data. This memorandum directly impacts tribal self-determination by strengthening health sovereignty, giving tribal officials immediate access to public health data to deploy culturally tailored healthcare solutions. And according to official statements released by the National Congress of American Indians, NCAI leadership submitted formal testimony to Congress and federal policy committees in Washington, D.C., opposing administrative attempts to downplay historical land disposition treaties and boarding school impacts in public education reports. Now, NCAI advocates that they emphasize that protecting accurate history is essential to maintaining educational sovereignty and holding federal government accountable to its treaty obligations. RCMP Major Crime Services and the Manitoba Independent Investigative Unit, or IIU, are continuing in an active homicide and use of force investigation following a critical incident in the Kinoseosepi Cree Nation, also known as Norway House Local First Nation. Now, their safety officers and RCMP detachments have incorporated high-level searches and forensic identification teams in response to several recent critical public safety incidents in the community. Now, critics and community advocates point out that remote First Nations remain vulnerable to long responsive times and under-resourced local infrastructure, renewing calls for directly funded tribal-led policing authorities. Now, why this matters to tribes. Unresolved violence and external policing gaps directly impact community safety, MMIP advocacy, and victim support services in remote First Nations communities. And why this matters to sovereignty. Public safety sovereignty requires recognizing First Nations safety officers and tribal police departments as equal, fully resourced jurisdictional authorities to protect their own citizens simultaneously. And we turn our attention to weather. According to the forecast data from the National Weather Service's, monsoon, flash flood risks, and extreme heat remain active across Southwest tribal lands, while severe thunderstorms threaten rural power grids in the Northern Plains and Great Lakes. For tribal leaders and staff, we'll turn our attention to events coming up. And again, make sure that you make your arrangements for the NCAI annual convention happening in October here in Palm Springs, California, and the NAFOA Financial Management Summit in Santa Fe in September. So that'll do it for me here. I'm very thankful again for having you join me on this daily Tribal Sovereignty Report. If you found today's briefing helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help me spread the word and keep Indian country informed. And I'm here with a new episode every single Monday through Friday, available wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again for listening and for watching, and we will see you right again here on Monday morning. Have a great weekend, and please be safe.